Hello and welcome back to This Week in Biotech. Today I'm covering Biotech and Pharma News, edition number 61 from July 11th to July 17th, 2025. So the first news is about Sarepta Therapeutics. I have been covering their setbacks for a while now, and they made headlines again this week with a bold but somewhat painful restructuring, laying off 500 employees, which is about over a third of their workforce. And this move is aimed at cutting $400 million in annual costs and refocusing its pipeline. So the company is shifting its priorities away from broad gene therapy development and instead doubling down on its siRNA platform with new programs in areas like Huntington's disease and pulmonary fibrosis. The shakeup again comes as Sarepta works to recover from recent safety concerns with its Duchenne therapy Elevidys. 2 patient deaths recently due to acute liver failure led to the FDA to require a black box warning on Elevidys, and Sarepta has temporarily paused shipments to non-ambulant patients while it finalizes an enhanced immunosuppression protocol. Despite the tough headlines, the stock jumped sharply, rising as much as 40% initially. Now it's stable at around 20%. As investors welcome the tighter strategic focus and cost discipline. So from my perspective, I think this is a classic case of short-term pain for long-term survival. Sarepta had no choice but to act decisively after serious safety events and rising costs. Cutting a third of your staff is never easy, but it shows the company is serious about stabilizing its business and avoiding a death by 1,000 cuts scenario. The pivot to siRNA is smart. It's a platform with a better safety margin and a long-term commercial potential, but still Sarepta has a trust gap to bridge both with investors and the Duchenne community. If it can deliver on its streamlined pipeline and rebuild credibility with regulators and families, this week's restructuring might be remembered as a turning point rather than a retreat. And I cover, me and Hartaj Singh from the Biotech Capital Campus cover more about Sarepta and gene therapies in our mini-series on gene editing and gene therapies. The first part was actually published yesterday on July 17th. So make sure to check it out. Next is SELLAS Life Sciences. The company delivered one of the week's most impressive clinical updates with data from its phase 2 trial of SLS009, a CDK9 inhibitor for relapsed refractory acute myeloid leukemia, or AML. The study met all of its goals, showing a 44% response rate in patients with myelodysplasia related to AML and 50% in select high-risk subtypes like ASXL1 mutated and M4-M5 disease, well above the 20% benchmark typically used in this setting. Median overall survival reached nearly 9 months in some cohorts, which is a notable improvement compared to the 2 to 4 month outcomes often seen with current options. The treatment was also well tolerated with no dose-limiting toxicities reported. Based on these findings, the FDA has supported SELLAS into moving SLS009 into a frontline AML trial, which is expected to begin enrolling patients in early 2026. While early, this data positions SLS009 as one of the more promising CDK9 inhibitors in the development. The fact that it showed meaningful activities across high-risk molecular subtypes and did so with a clean safety profile is a strong starting point. SELLAS is taking a precision medicine approach for the next trial, focusing on newly diagnosed patients unlikely to benefit from the standard of care. And it's a smart strategy, and if the next phase delivers similar results, SLS009 could earn a spot as a targeted chemotherapy-sparing options in a field that still badly needs better outcomes. Next is MiNK Therapeutics. The company caught fire this week. Its stock skyrocketed over 500% after publishing a remarkable case study in Nature's Oncogene. The report detailed a complete durable remission in a patient with metastatic treatment-resistant testicular cancer following a single infusion of MiNK's off-the-shelf iNKT cell therapy called Agent 797. The patient had exhausted standard therapies, including platinum chemo, stem cell transplant, and multiple checkpoint inhibitors, yet showed no evidence of disease 2 years later and experienced no serious side effects like cytokine release syndrome or graft versus host disease. While it's obviously a single case, it's a striking proof of concept for MiNK's iNKT platform, which aims to bridge the benefits of T cells and NK cells, or natural killer cells, without the safety baggage seen in autologous CAR T cells. And that said, analysts are urging caution. MiNK's broader phase 2 trial in gastric cancer is still ongoing, and one patient does not make a trend. From my perspective, this data is worth watching closely, not because it proves efficacy, but because it hints at what off-the-shelf cell therapy could look like. If future trials show similar durability in more patients, Agent 797 could be a foundational program for solid tumor cell therapy. For now, the spotlight is on MiNK to replicate this result at scale. Next is Capricor Therapeutics. They received a complete response letter this week from the FDA for its cell therapy deramiocel, which targets cardiomyopathy and Duchenne muscular dystrophy. Although the therapy had priority review and positive data from the phase 2 HOPE-2 trial, the FDA indicated that submitted evidence did not provide substantial proof of effectiveness and flagged unresolved issues with the chemistry, manufacturing, and controls section, all of which Capricor contends it had already addressed. Shares stumbled over 50% in early trading amid the surprise, though Capricor quickly outlined a roadmap. They plan to include upcoming top-line data from the 104-patient phase 3 HOPE-3 trial in a resubmission expected in Q3 2025. The FDA has offered a Type A meeting and will restart its review clock upon resubmission. This is definitely a notable setback for the company, but not a full stop. The stock dip reflects real investor concern, yet the complete response letter is also a structured pause. The HOPE-3 data expected later this year is a critical inflection point, and I'm sure if those results mirror the encouraging early findings, it could flip investor sentiment again. And this was not the only complete response letter this week. Ultragenyx received a CRL from the FDA for its AAV gene therapy UX111, targeting Sanfilippo syndrome type A, which is a rare and fatal neurodegenerative disease in children. While the agency acknowledged strong clinical and biomarker data, it flagged issues during facility inspections. The company believes these are fixable and unrelated to product quality, but expects approval to be delayed into 2026. Next is DiaMedica's preeclampsia data. So the company released positive phase 2 data for DM199, showing statistically significant blood pressure reductions in pregnant women with preeclampsia, a condition with no approved pharmacological treatments. Perhaps most important, the drug did not cross the placenta, addressing a key safety concern. With preeclampsia often forcing early delivery to save the mother, DM199 could represent a rare shot at treating the disease without sacrificing fetal safety. And lastly, this week, 23andMe acquired by nonprofit TTAM after bidding war with Regeneron. So in a surprising twist, 23andMe was acquired by TTAM Research Institute for $305 million, beating out a $256 million bid from Regeneron. While TTAM pledged to preserve privacy and public access, some stakeholders questioned the decision, arguing that Regeneron would have brought stronger scientific alignment. Either way, the deal marks a new chapter for the once high-flying consumer genomics company, now under nonprofit ownership. That's it for this episode. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week and a great weekend ahead. And be sure to check out the rest of This Week in Biotech edition number 61, as well as this week's deep dive on gene editing therapies. See you next week.